The lake froze early that year, earlier than anyone in town could remember, sealing Christmas Lake beneath a flawless sheet of ice that reflected the pale winter sun like a mirror. Clara stood at the shore, her boots crunching softly in the snow, the cold biting through her gloves as she wrapped her fingers tighter around the wool scarf at her neck. Her mother had knitted it years ago, red and white with uneven stitches, laughing as she said imperfections made things real. Now that laugh lived only in Clara's memory, and the scarf felt like the last thread tying her to this place. Behind her, the town was alive with Christmas lights and distant bells, but the sound felt muted, as if the lake absorbed it all. The old family lodge loomed nearby, dark and shuttered. The storm in October had ripped part of the roof away, flooding the main hall and destroying the bookings that kept the business alive. Bills piled up, friends gently suggested selling. Clara had already packed half her life into cardboard boxes stacked by the door, ready to leave once the holidays passed. Staying felt foolish, hoping felt dangerous. She stepped closer to the water's edge, staring out across the frozen surface. As a child, she'd believed the lake was enchanted. Her mother used to say Christmas Lake listened when people spoke honestly to it. Clara had stopped believing in things like that somewhere between loss and responsibility, yet here she was, heart aching, wishing she could rewind time to when miracles felt possible. Carefully, she placed one boot on the ice. It held, then the other. The lake responded with a soft, musical hum, deep and gentle, vibrating up through her legs. Clara froze, fear and wonder tangling in her chest. The sound wasn't threatening, it felt welcoming, like a breath taken in greeting. She took another step, then another, until she stood a few feet from shore, alone in the vast quiet. Snowflakes drifted down, settling on her coat. Clara closed her eyes, her breath trembling, and whispered the truth she hadn't allowed herself to say out loud. She didn't ask for money or an easy fix. She asked for a sign. Just one. Something to tell her that staying, loving this town, and holding on to her mother's dreams still mattered. The ice hummed again beneath her feet, steady and sure, as if listening. Morning arrived wrapped in silver light, the kind that made everything feel briefly new. Clara returned to the lake with a thermos of coffee and a notebook tucked under her arm, determined to think practically. The town had officially canceled the Christmas festival after the storm, but she needed proof the ice was safe if there was any chance of reviving it. As she knelt to test the surface, a familiar voice called her name. Aiden stood a few yards away, skates slung over his shoulder, breath puffing in the cold. He'd grown up beside Christmas Lake, fixing docks and boats long before he became the town's carpenter. Quiet, steady, and observant, he'd helped patch the lodge roof after the storm, refusing payment with a shy shrug. "Mind if I check the ice with you?" he asked. Together, they stepped onto the lake, their skates whispering across the surface. Where their paths crossed, frost bloomed in delicate patterns, spirals and stars that shimmered, then slowly faded. Clara stopped short, staring. Aiden crouched, running his glove over the marks. "I've skated here my whole life," he murmured, "and I've never seen that." The ice hummed again, low and comforting, as if acknowledging them. By midday, neighbors drifted down, drawn by curiosity and the promise of something hopeful. Mrs. Alvarez brought a tray of cinnamon rolls. The twins from the hardware store hauled lanterns. Someone plugged in a speaker, and soft carols floated over the ice. The lake seemed to respond to the gathering. No cracks, no groans of warning, only that gentle resonance, steady as a heartbeat. Clara skated with growing confidence, laughter breaking through months of tension. When she stumbled on a slick patch, the ice held firm, and Aiden caught her, his hand warm through her glove. The moment lingered, both of them smiling in surprise. She felt it then. Not just safety, but welcome. As dusk settled, the frost patterns returned, brighter now, tracing light beneath their skates like constellations under glass. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones came out, children twirled, someone started a cheer. Clara's chest tightened with emotion she could barely contain. The lake wasn't just frozen, it was alive with possibility. Standing at the center, Clara looked back toward the dark lodge. For the first time since the storm, she didn't see ruin. She saw windows lit again, music spilling out, and a town gathered together. The miracle wasn't loud or dramatic, it was shared, growing stronger with every person who believed. Christmas Eve arrived softly, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Snow fell in slow, graceful flakes, turning the town into a painting of light and quiet. By twilight, people made their way to Christmas Lake carrying candles in glass jars, their reflections trembling on the ice. Clara stood near the shore, the old lodge behind her glowing for the first time in months. Aiden had fixed the windows, neighbors had cleaned and decorated, and pine boughs framed the doorway like an embrace. As the first carol rose into the cold air, the lake answered. A warm glow spread beneath the ice, not blinding, not sharp, but golden and gentle, like sunrise captured under winter. The hum returned, deeper now, steady and reassuring, and Clara felt it resonate in her chest. Tears blurred her vision as she realized what the lake had been giving her all along, not magic to escape her problems, but courage to face them together. People stepped onto the ice, cautious at first, then confident, their candlelight mingling with the glow below. Children laughed as their reflections danced. Elders held hands. The town that had felt fractured by loss and hardship now stood whole again, united by something simple and true. Clara glanced at Aiden, who watched the scene with quiet awe. When he took her hand, it felt like a promise, unspoken, but deeply understood. In that moment, Clara knew the miracle couldn't last forever, and that was its beauty. Magic wasn't meant to replace effort or heal wounds overnight. It was meant to remind people of what they were capable of when they chose hope. She walked back to the lodge, pulled the "for sale" sign from the snow, and tore it clean in two. Inside, she pinned up a new hand-painted notice, "Open, Christmas Day." As midnight neared, the glow beneath the ice slowly faded, leaving behind an ordinary frozen lake, strong and silent. No one felt disappointed. The warmth remained, in smiles, in laughter, in plans made aloud. Clara leaned into Aiden's shoulder as the final carol echoed across the ice, knowing she would stay. The lake had kept its promise, and so would she, carrying the miracle forward in every light she chose to turn on.